tournament time means a lot. It means betting, it means parties, it means excitement, upsets, all of it. But here's what else it means. Unbearable, innumerable cliche. And you've already seen it if you watched the selection show, if you watched any of the bracketology stuff, if you've been around the water cooler at the office. The way the tournament is talked about is in its own vernacular. And it is so ridden with unbelievable cliche that we started to think about this. And in a way, we're making fun of people we work with because the cliches that fly around this place are incredible. So let me give you an example.
Unbelievable.
It's just a simple example because I really want you guys driving around to fuel this topic. Because I don't want to just identify the cliches. I want to know the order. I want to know the ranking, the final four of cliche. I want to know what cliche that you're going to hear over the next month of basketball is the most galling, the most overused, the silliest, etc. So example, you watch a show, you listen to sports radio, and somebody says, hey, this team's got a shot to do damage, or this team is a Cinderella. Here's the question. What the hell justifies a Cinderella? Like, if you win one game, are you a Cinderella?
Depends on who it's against.
And how high can you be to be a Cinderella? Can a 7 be a Cinderella? Can a 5? Does it have to be below a 10? What's a Cinderella?
A Cinderella I think, is a 7 or 8 seed without a traditional name. Like Michigan State cannot be a Cinderella because Michigan State has been to Final Fours.
But what if Michigan State as a 9 seed, and no, I'm not saying this is happening because I think Miami's going to riddle us with bullets, but what if State as a 9 seed made the Final Four this year? That's a Cinderella.
That would be. Anything less, it's not a Cinderella.
No, Sully disagrees.
No, I agree with what Terry said about it has to be some sort of small school or school that people aren't familiar with. If Michigan State made a run this year, I think it would just be
Izzo did it again.
Yeah, what a magical run the Spartans
All
went
right,
on.
but do you agree that a Cinderella has to then make the Sweet 16? You can't win a game and be a Cinderella.
No, that's not a run, yeah.
All right, so I think the usage of the term Cinderella is the worst, biggest cliche used in March Madness. But I want to know some of the other ones that just drive you nuts. You're going to watch hours and hours and hours of CBS and network affiliate coverage of the tourney. The studio shows, the announcers. What is the worst cliche of March Madness? 248-539-9797. Your ticket text 97136. The phone lines are wide open. I've said Cinderella. I can't stand hearing that term. Terry, what would you like to offer up?
Here, I'm going to offer this. Anything can happen on the first day of the tournament. That's what makes it so special.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one, because they're going to say it.
Here's one you're going to hear, too.
Day.
These kids came to play.
That's another good one. That's a good. All right, Sully.
I have a specific one I'd like to say, and it relates locally. Never bet against Izzo in March.
Oh yeah, that's
God,
right.
That one is so bad. Yeah, never bet against him, except he's going one and done the last 2 years.
Hasn't yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I got one, and I hate it. I heard it earlier today. All they have to do is make their shots.
Yep.
Well, doesn't every team, don't they all have to make their shots?
Yeah,
That's
but
fair.
they
I
always
hate
say
hearing
that.
What about this? Any mention. Terry talked about this yesterday, so he gets credit for this. Oh, look out for that 5-12 matchup.
Yes, indeed.
God almighty, please stop with that.
Here's one we're going to be sick of this year.
27 of the last 30 years.
Are you ready? Here's
Yeah.
one we're going to be. Michigan in that plane accident. Oh, these kids are still shaken up by it, but man, they're playing over their heads. We're going to hear something to that effect through the tournament.
I want to know the biggest cliche. I mean, for me, you could say one shining moment. I mean, that song itself is just so cliche. I don't ever want to hear it again.
Oh, that's magical.
I hate that song. 248-539-9797. Because think about it. Like when you get a guy like Jim Nance on the call, think about the amount of cliche that is used for the NCAA tournament. I don't know that another sporting event approaches March Madness with respect to cliche. Super Bowl, maybe. But we're talking with the tourney. It's a 3-week endeavor.
Speaking of that, young Mike, how about this one? This is the greatest 3 weeks of sports. We're going to hear that.
Yep. You could name descriptions for the event, but the team ones, it's unbelievable. Like a great example, and I've heard others talk about it, and it's a fantastic point. When you're talking about the brackets, right? And people go, oh, well, this team, they're going to make noise.
Yes.
Well, again, just like the Cinderella thing I brought up, what do you mean make noise? What is the definition of that? Like Sully is the biggest East Tennessee State backer outside of East Tennessee State.
He loves them.
Loves him. He thinks the Buccaneers are going to do some work. Well, my question would be, if they beat Florida in the first round, is that making noise?
Oh, yeah.
But what
That's
if they,
that's not making a run, but that's making noise. Yeah.
But if they get dropped by
13
20
seed.
in the second round, what noise did they make? It's a pop gun.
They knocked out Florida.
Yeah, it's a big name. And here's another thing you're going to hear. David is beating Goliath.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I don't want to give them all away. Obviously, we want the people to get involved here. But what about good guard play goes a long way?
Yes.
That's a good one. What cliche, what tournament cliche reigns supreme? 248-539-9797. As much as I love the tourney, God almighty, these broadcasts, especially too, I don't know what it is, like maybe it's because we're surrounded by it for the full, let's say 12 hours, right? We before we're on the air in Vegas, you know, the games are on. While we're on the air, the games are on. And then after, well, naturally, you're off duty. And whether you're watching it with clients or whether you're just having a good time on personal time, we watch the games. There is something about it where the cliches jump off the screen by the middle of the first day. And then we end up talking about it and goofing around about it.
Here's another thing that's going to be done. They're going to compare every major conference's overall record in the tournament. The SEC is 3-2 and the Big Ten is 5-0. We'll hear that a lot too.
248-539-9797. I want to get some of the people in the mix. We need to find out which March Madness cliche should be banned. I mean, the worst one, the one that drives you nutty watching these games.